Hi, I'm Antonio, CTO and co-founder at Fluidkey.
Hi, Antonio.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us at
Pleasure.
the Web3 Privacy Now hackathon. We'll start with just your briefly introduction in like your pathway, like how you ended up at your position at Fluidkey. Just a bit of your background for people who don't know you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that my job in privacy didn't start with Web3, and because often people met me say, "Oh, but you start privacy with Web3?" No, I actually start. I think it's something that I always take care about privacy or making sure that private things stay private for myself personally. But the first thing that I really worked on as a job in privacy was a startup I co-founded in 2017. At the time, I was really kind of following the Web3 space, but I was still working full-time in Web2. And that was a startup that was focusing on solving a problem that soon was coming in Europe. There was a GDPR rule. So basically ruling how personal data are shared between end users and companies that want to access them. And Yanum was the startup. It was a middle layer that had no access to the data, but was guaranteed that if I share that with the company can access the data until the law offers that. If I update data gets updated until I stop sharing data with the company, and the other way around. No, so it was like a trusted layer. This, I think, the first real project that put a lot of effort into privacy. But then was 2020 when I decided to go full time into Web3. Initially, it was not focused on privacy. It was like more like experimenting. Was supporting projects I'm also a developer, I have a tech background. And then in 2023, is the year that at an hackathon, I met Moritz, my co-founder. He had this idea around Fluidkey. And say that now Fluidkey is a Web3 privacy-focused product.
So it's very symbolic that you kind of made your product out of hackathon, and we are speaking at hackathon now, and that's cool. So actually we can start with that. So like just discuss a bit like your experience, like your hackathon experience. Maybe you can give advices to builders who take part in hackathon. Like how do you mean hackathon basically, or like what is successful hackathon like in your opinion?
Yeah, makes sense. So it's a great question because I started doing hackathons soon after I joined Web3. In Web2, there were hackathons. Even that time, we were doing a lot. I think there's more the vibes, the culture of hackathons in Web3 rather more than what's in Web2. That said, I made all the possible mistakes you can make at a hackathon. Create a zombie project, go there looking at bounties before. And I think like the 2-3 hackathons I did helped me realize that. And when I realized that, there was a change in path for me. Like, okay, I go an hackathon not because I want to win a prize. That might come. That's a nice thing.
What do you think? Like, can you explain to people who don't know what's a zombie project? Really briefly.
No, you're right. Because usually when it comes to hackathon, there is an organizer, and there are, of course, a sponsor providing bounties, that's called, it's money, to the project that use their tech, use their solution, and are ranked number 1, number 2, or number 3, usually. That's how it works. Of course, you have like, in some hackathons, you have like really dozens of sponsors, so you can maybe try to combine them to maximize the amount you can win. And this is what I call a zombie project, because then in the end comes out a project that has a lot of stuff, but doesn't solve a real problem. The only problem that solves is winning more money at the hackathon, but that stays there. And I think that this is not ideal for hackathons. The time that changed really in my mind is when I realized, okay, I have an idea and I go there because I have 2 days, because usually hackathon lasts around 2 days, from like Friday afternoon till Sunday morning. That's usually the how an hackathon works. And in these 2 days, you have to put all your efforts into solving the problem you would like to solve. Problem that ideally you don't come up with at the hackathon. You thought before of the because you saw around. And this is what basically we did, for example, with Fluidkey, and was like also a successful one, but we are still doing at Fluidkey. So if we want to add something and we saw a problem, we don't build internally, we go to an hackathon, because that forces us to nail down the problem and try to solve it by ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. But how did you came up to the realization of the problems that you are solving with Fluidkey? Like, when did you face it? When was it like, yeah, I need to do that, like this every moment?
So the solution later, but the problem, I think, since I joined the Web3 space, because there was like a question, okay, I have an address. There's nothing attached to my address. So if I look on a public blockchain, I can see, okay, this address, that's like an IBAN or a bank number, has moved these funds, has done this stuff, but I don't know who is doing that. But the moment that I need to receive a payment from you, I need to share it with you. And this is the time where basically I disclose with you not only how much I have, that's really terrible, but what I did in the past. And this is intrinsic. And this is also the beautiful part of blockchain, because everything is transparent. I can't hide money or fake money, or, that's the beautiful. So these are the rules, and the rules must stay like that. But around these rules, we need to play a little bit different so that every time I want to receive a payment, you don't see all my past transactions or how much I have. This is also reflects not just for Web3 specifically, but more in general for we as human beings. We are keen on posting where we are on social, what we think, what we do, but none of us ever post how much he has in the bank or what he did with the credit card over the last month. No one will ever do that. And when he does, it's often a scam, or some people robbing you, showing you they have so much money, and it's not true. And so this applies in this space. Until this problem is not solved, mass adoption of cryptocurrency will be just a mere speculation, way of speculation on assets, but no one will use to pay on every day. And this is where the problem, and then there was a problem, it was clear in my mind, it was clear to everyone, it was not just myself, everyone was speaking about that. And the change arrived when Moritz, my co-founder, posted on Farcaster, social media focused on Web3, especially at the time, about saying, hey, why if we use stored addresses with smart accounts? Now, these big words basically mean that why we cannot create a new address for every transactions, and we just keep money spread across these addresses. In a way, it's like a transition that Web 2, we call like origin of internet did. Like when internet came out, if I want to connect with you, I was probably phone calling you and ask your IP address, okay? Now we don't do anymore. I just ask your email, your Twitter handle, or whatever it is. Under the hood, these IP addresses are managed by infrastructure. People have no clue and change over time. Like if you're doing a web call, it changes multiple times. You don't even know about that. Yeah, same way I think should apply to blockchain to solve this problem. You don't have one address. You have an infinite amount of address. Then it's the application built on top that make you feel like all the money are in one place. And this way, every time you want to receive a payment, the protocol generates a new address, money gets to this side and stay there. So who pays me see an empty address that never transacted, and there's the only balance that address has is what I sent. So I know that you have this money because I sent it to you. There's no way I can not knowing that, you know? And this is the spark that basically had us, okay, this is a different angle to see this problem. Let's try to solve it in this way.
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant idea. I love it so much. And it's like simple, but still like there's another problem. Like you have this beautiful idea, but then in my perspective, the thing, like two main things. First is like, where do you find like partners or team? The second one, how do you really execute it? Because I mean, it can come up with like any idea, right? But then like it's worth nothing until it's built. So, and now, like, what are the challenges you had to overcome to build that? Because I am sure it was not easy.
No, 100%. Because when you had an idea, at that moment, you see everything. Oh wow! Everyone will run because I have this amazing product, and then you build. You figure out that there's like, but you didn't improve yet if it's safe. So there's a lot to do around. So, and I go back to I think two crucial components when building a product, especially in Web3. One is hackathons, and the other one is community and foundations. The first one is because hackathons is where, you test. For us to come with Fluidkey, we had to do 2 hackathons. Where the first one was the one I mentioned in Paris, where basically we came up with the idea of this many addresses for one person. But until that stage, it was like a great, very nerdy, privacy-focused solution. We want to have everyone using. So we need something that we found out from feedback and community with UX. And this also resonates for how I've always seen privacy. Like, for example, I use on my computer Linux. It's not the best, like in the setup I have, it's not the best privacy ever, but it's practical privacy. Okay, so I can use it with no problems. And I think this applies to everyone. When you present a product, there should be a practical privacy, not something that requires you a master in IT engineering to be able to handle that, to understand what it does. And this was a feedback for the community. So the second hackathon, I go back to this concept, was like, okay, how do we provide, on top of what we have, a great UX? And this is what we did in Rome, in partnership with ENS. And that allows us to create a unique identifier, in essence, like a website domain, basically, that every time resolves to a new address, so I don't have to give you my new address. I give you once this resolver, like my email it is, and every time that resolver will tell the payer where the money needs to go, automatically in the wallet without knowledge. And I use the word in partner with, because to start was crucial for us to have support from partners like ENS, SAFE, or even communities like Web3 Privacy Now. I have to be honest, because it helped us speaking. Well, one of the first maybe the very first public speaking we had.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Exactly. And it was a moment where we start, getting some feedbacks, getting people no, that's cool. And then you start saying, but it's, maybe you lack that, or you need to do that. And these are our holy grail. It's the way we understand how to build our product is listening. On one side, we know what we want because we build the product for ourselves. Okay, we had this pain and we know how to solve that because that's the problem we had. But then this problem has so many angles you can see that you might have a different need than me, and we didn't think about that. And we start collecting feedback from you and 2-3 people the same way. Oh, that's important. This is, for example, why we integrated recently bank transfer. So if you open a Fluidkey account, you get an IBAN or ACH account in the US, and as soon as you send money is automatically minted on chain. We never thought about that at the beginning. In Paris, it was even not thinkable of that, but now it's a reality. And that's this process of iteration thanks to communities, feedbacks, and hackathons.
Yeah, it's about the feedback, very important thing. So I wanted to ask you about the product development, basically, and customer development. At what stage and how would you recommend to do that? Because it's also a common pitfall, in my opinion, at least, that okay, I have this idea, wow, I want to build it, I build it, and then you go to users and they're what is it? I don't need that. So your take on this.
Yeah, and I used to see there are 2 phases into that. One that is you have to listen, the other one you must be also focused on your conviction, no? And I make 2 examples for that. The first one was as soon as you build something, share. I remember as soon as we did the Ethereum hackathon, we went on calls with the ENS community and we were sharing that and we were collecting feedbacks and we were seeing that, it's great, but if you just do this tokens, it's useless. They want to do any token, and that's the feedback and it's building. What instead for us was a feedback that we knew was not meaning that we had to change our product, was where people saying, it's enough for you to go through a centralized exchange that leaks your privacy. and is not safe because once money goes in a centralized exchange, it's no more your money. You lost control over that. And if, for example, when money is received, they require you more identity verification, money is locked until they're happy with your identity verification on top of what you probably already have done. No? So there are a few problems. But so the solution for us is not your money needs to go through a centralized exchange to get better privacy. For us, what that feedback meant was we need to build a better user experience than a centralized exchange, so people don't need to use a centralized exchange anymore and just stay on chain. Okay. And that's kind of how the two type of feedbacks fits together.
Yeah. Oh, actually, UX. Let's talk about that because it's something often like especially tech founders say like, oh no, we just build cool thing and it works. Like it doesn't matter if it's like, oh, you can use it easily or not. And that how it also happens often. Like, and maybe you can recommend something like on the importance of UX or how to implement it like easily.
Now, what I think is we are lucky at Fluidkey is that the team is not made only of tech people. I mean, I'm lucky because Moritz, my co-founder, he says he's not with a tech background. He is great at coding, okay, but also he has like a very business-focused, business developer-oriented background. And this is a great way of when we want to do something, I always see from a tech perspective, he always sees from an end user perspective. And this, being able to put our ideas together, I think this is what has brought to the current user experience we have in Fluidkey, where from a tech perspective works, but also from a user perspective works. It requires no knowledge of how the blockchain works and very little tech background if you want to use it. And so my suggestion is when you're looking for a co-founder, and always don't try not to do a company with one people because another person helps you a lot to confront and confront and see things from different angles. Just try to figure out someone that has a different background from what you have.
Yeah, that's a good take. Also, I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned your partner and founder a couple of times, and I see that it's a big pillar of success, right? Find the right partner, to find the right founder. What was your experience? So you mentioned already that it was a hackathon thing that we did together, but one thing is how to find one, how to find out that this is the one, and then like after you start doing things, like how to not to kill your co-founder. Because that's another thing, right?
So maybe to give a little bit of background around that, the team is of three at Fluidkey, and we all work since day zero on Fluidkey. I met Moritz when he was in Paris, as I mentioned before, but the other person that's on the team is Federico. I've been working with him for 10 years. We co-founded, for example, Jan on the GDPR-focused application I was mentioning before, and we went through beautiful and awful times together. And I think that what makes a difference with a co-founder is for sure different ways of seeing things, but also the fact that you should be aligned with your personal goals. So this difference, it's not like one answer. So for myself, my personal goal is doing things because you like building things. I've always been the kind of person that if I told there's something broken, I fix it, not just coding wise, but also manually. I'm always like this kind of, because I enjoy building stuff. And Federico, I didn't know each other since like 10 years more, because I used to play basketball and me coaching. We have been doing that for a lot of years now. And when I met Moritz, I kind of found the same vibes behind. Because especially in Web3, sometimes it seems to find people like just want it for money. And it's okay. But it doesn't resonate with how I see things. There are founders that just do that, and it's totally fine. I mean, it's not like a bad way of things. So personally, I was able to find someone that was aligned from a human perspective in terms of goals, no matter the idea that's behind. Then it was also lucky it was like had a different angles of seeing problems that were like less technical. So it was like a good match.
So basically, it's like to be aligned on values, right? Like
100%.
yeah, and that's the key thing of any information, probably.
100%. Yeah. For example, even when personally in the past, in other adventures, I had to hire people.
Yeah.
I tend, to do like a job interview. I mean, just quickly, just let me know what you do. Just if I'm looking for a tech guy, not hiring a marketing guy, that's it. Then I think that the person you really understand if you go outside in a public environment, go out for lunch, something like that. In that environment, a person can never fake himself. And this is why hackathons are great, because you can fake yourself in a 1 hour meeting or when I'm in a specific meeting, but the moment you are in a completely different environment, there's no way. And here you see the true person on the other side, and you understand if it's the right person for you or not.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really good advice. I never considered a hackathon like that because, it's like going to, I don't know, a few days hike in the mountains, right? It's also this absurd situation.
Exactly. That's it. You find a person that's more, that tends to look more to the others, the person that, always see the problems before, the person that takes more, is more like a person that likes to stay by himself. And they're all person that fits in a team. You just need to make sure that you don't put the person that loves to stay by himself head of a big team. That would make a mess. Okay, and that's like what you have to make sure you do.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about another super important thing, even though like you mentioned that like money is not something that you are aiming for, which I totally like resonate with, but still you can't do business not being sustainable. You need to pay salaries, you need to pay bills, you need money. Anyway, so like, what's your experience of like being sustainable fundraising or whatever you get money, private space? Because I know it's not very easy actually.
100%. First of all, there was always this big debate that privacy is something and then making money should not go together. No, they must coexist if you want projects that are sustainable over time. If we just focus on privacy, for example, I think that it's key for a privacy product to build on a stack, on a system that itself intrinsically enforces that your data is protected. So even if the company sold, the product is taken by someone else, this stays. But that's at a later stage. We're looking at the beginning when the product starts. Grants, it's super important. Like when a person is not a builder asks me what can I do to support you, I always say share feedback, but most of all, vote for us if you believe in us when there is like a grant distribution. So grant distribution often happens that you go on a website, you can register yourself, you can get a social score, the more to avoid bots inside, so that knowing that your vote comes from a real person. And then you can vote for someone, and who gets most votes get maybe more money from the grants. And it was like crucial for us to start. Then, of course, you need VCs, and you have to make any money. If VC put money in, it's because they want make more money out of you. It's the game's roots. There's nothing bad on that, no? So if they put money into privacy, they must know that they're going to make money out of that, and you have to prove that. And I think that in general, this must be accepted, and this is why a privacy fee is in the protocol and all this stuff. And me as a user, I don't see it as a way of, they're stealing my money, because the other option, our company stealing my entire personality, and I think it's a trade-off, and in the end, costs you more that way than paying a few cents today for protecting your privacy. So where to start? I would say hackathon, grants, and don't be shy and go for venture capital money. That's definitely something that you need to go. Always making clear that you're working in privacy and your goal is to make money, but in a sustainable way for the product itself.
Good, perfect. Okay, and like going back to like history of your, maybe not just Fluidkey, but whatever your, let's say, like entrepreneurship builder background, like what maybe like top 2-3 common challenges that we had to overcome, or maybe that you see on the market like now, especially in Web3 privacy space?
Okay, so for me, like number one is to bring the genius solution you find to a problem to the real life. Because sometimes you get this problem, you thought, oh, that's amazing, but then no one is using that. And this I would rank number one, because that's a mistake and I'm still doing in a lot of ideas that sometimes I have outside of Fluidkey, and that's it. The second one is keep being yourself. I did a mistake once. So for example, I'm a person that keep thinking about new ideas. Even if I'm in another project, at the beginning I was like trying to hide that part. I said, no, I have this project, I just need to focus on that 100% of my time. That's not how I personally work. And for example, every time I have an idea, if I can build that, I wrote it on the social media. Someone I'm sure will probably pick up, and if it makes sense, we'll start to build that. It's fitting ideas. It just like what I'm working on now was not 100% my idea. No one has 100% his own idea, and it's good about that, honestly. And the same way, I think that if you have an idea, you need to share to someone else, because someone else is going probably to buy on that. And probably the third mistake I did in the past, I will not do anymore, is thinking that if you have your own idea, you can work indefinitely for free on that. I think money as a value, each of us needs to give value to his money, but if you see, oh, we'll take 1 year, 2 years to build this product, try to shorten it up, but also make sure that you will start somehow making money in that period, because we don't live off thin air, and that's a reality, and that must be kept in mind, because otherwise in the end, there's a risk it becomes something that go against you if things doesn't play as expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 1% is really, really common things, I have to say. And they're quite important when you do your stuff. And going back a bit to like privacy itself. Imagine there is a person who is just like starting like their way into privacy, like understanding what is it, why it's important, like 101. Maybe some habits that people can easily integrate in their life and be private, like that, like without going super deep, because I mean, you can still get a lot of knowledge on privacy, but then like, how do you implement, how do you use it in your daily life? Because it's very different of like, I know how like data is transferred and like how it is used against me, but then like, what can I do to kind of prevent it, like my easy daily habits on privacy?
Yes. So before around the concept of privacy, just a very small parenthesis around that, because I think privacy is very subjective. So for example, what is private for a person that, lives in North Korea is completely different than what is private for a person who lives in Switzerland. Probably for a person there, like speaking on the phone without being listening is privacy. If you say to a Swiss person, it's like, oh, that's of course, like privacy is other. It's a more advanced concept, no? So let's resonate on the environment and what you want to achieve on that. Then in practice, what it comes down is like, of course, we live I think for the first time ever in human history, in a way that's close to impossible. It's very hard to be really by yourself, no? Because even in the 70s, that's like 50 years ago, so nothing in the human history, there were no cell phones, so you can go really outside and be really private by yourself. No one was able to spy you and see where you are and so on. Today is almost impossible unless you really cut off from society, but completely. And even there are cameras around that say you knows where you are and so on and so forth. No, so when it comes to privacy, I think it's like, okay, find one aspect that you want to improve for yourself in your life and in matters. Can be either like using in a certain way the device that tracks you. The other way is like going a certain amount of time in an area where you know the privacy is more served. Like, make a practical example. Okay, I accept living in such a society, but I know that for how I am, few weeks, a year, I need to go in the mountains, like living phone home and hiking. That's a way of doing that, like getting a relief. Another way is more practical. For example, I am Linux user on my computer. So I learned how to use this operating system that are not as hard as in the past. Like even a regular user can now install and use it. Most of the stuff are happening now on browser. There's less requirement of specific application being installed. This makes the ability of using a Linux distro more open to anyone. So this is another thing that I kind of suggest to someone that's not technical to do. And finally, always ask yourself, why is this free? Because if you start asking yourself why something is free, you always figure it out. They're probably stealing you something, and then you want to do something differently. And that's the other question, just to keep in mind.
Yes, and you as a product company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and okay, let's speak a bit about future. So I mentioned nowadays it's pretty fucked, but like we do everything that we can just to kind of make it beautiful in the future. So imagine it's like 30 years from here and we won. We have the internet that we imagine, private, secure, whatever you imagine it. So what it would look like for you, and like how the life would be like in this like perfect conditions of like heaven being everywhere.
Yeah, I think we are living in a huge change in terms of tech that's AI is bringing, And I think that if we can correctly handle, like manage this AI, this change will disrupt all the bad attitudes were in the past. Because in 20 or 30 years, I envision an AI where if I want a software, I don't buy. I have AI making tailored on what I need. Okay, not recently, in the long term. Yeah. Maybe there's a skeleton, but then all the features around are tailored for what I'm thinking about. Not just tech people, like
just wipe coding like that, Just
exactly.
I need this, and let's be there.
Exactly.
It's already almost. We are already almost there. So
exactly, tailored to my need, no. Yeah. And this means that code that today takes years of work and a lot of investment in people will take a very small amount of time and money to be built. So can be built with the privacy you want in mind. Now the problem is, will AI allow that? Or will AI inject inside? This is why I think that if we handle correctly transition to this type of open source AI, and why I understand a technical need of having these specific AI tools running in very big data centers, but on the other side, we had the proof with, for example, DeepSeek from China, not speaking about the product, but the fact that even with smaller hardware, if you put your head into, you can have like very complex model running on very small hardware. In the end, is also what, for example, the Ethereum Foundation is trying to do with their RPC clients, completely change the ideas. Like, don't rely on big data center, just put everything on your Raspberry, work smart, and make it working in that way. So this is the future I would like to see in 30 years for the next generation. The time I will be probably already old enough, but being able to say, I want something, and I have built tailored on myself, with the privacy that each human deserves by default.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, okay, we have to go to a hot take on AI, obviously, just because it's organic and then it's like a hot topic. So I can't not ask. So AI is here, and the AI is big. Everyone is talking about it. Lots of money put there, but then there is a huge misalignment in between like AI movement and privacy. So do you think is there a chance to like make AI private? Can you use actually ChatGPT or whatever like privately besides DeepSeek and like a private node, and maybe some general rules that you follow, just not oversharing or sharing some specific data? So how to handle AI and stay private?
Yeah. So first of all, already today, still very technical. No, but very today you can download models on your machine and have it running on your machine for very basic stuff. Not complex, of course, but very basic stuff. And it's 100 times better than what any other code used to be like even last year, okay? But on top of that, I think that something that I've heard a little bit, but I know there's research around, is executing AI inside a trusted execution environment, so TEE. So what is this environment? Basically are computers that runs a software and returns a response. So I ask a question to AI and I get a response, but attached to that response, there is signature, so a mathematical proof, basically a huge number, see like this way, that prove that the code has been executed as it should be. What does it mean? That there was no console.log of my data. So basically, none of my data was stored inside a data center. So what I can do is like I can prepare the question like how do I prepare a good risotto? I'm Italian, I have to speak about food. I encrypt that, I send to the secure environment, the secure environment decrypts, see the request, run the AI, prepare the response, encrypts, and send back to me. Now, if this secure enclave, secure environment, execute without any console log, no data is leaked because it's encrypted and then goes out encrypted again. So anyone in the middle can see that.
Yeah.
And this, I think, might be like a great, also short-term way of saying, we provide AI, but we provide with a privacy-focused solution in mind. And I would, if I had more time than going out of Fluidkey, that's something I would like personally. So that's an idea that I had like playing around and using that. So
actually, it's a very beautiful idea and it's very elegant. And like TEE is a big thing now. And it totally makes sense actually. And then it's so easy. You just have this interface, which like is intermediate, that like makes it accessible to any of the model. So I wish someone will do that fast. And that will solve a lot of problems actually. And it's very elegant in a way. So maybe there is something you feel that you can or you want to share, like according to this like flow of our dialogue.
Yeah. But in general, is around connecting all the dots we touched. Is if anyone after seeing maybe this video or whatever has in mind that actually I have this problem. Actually, I feel uncomfortable when I have to do this. Share. This is the spark that then will trigger the creation, the solution to the problem. Because who has the problem often doesn't have the solution. Some will have, but not everyone because of technical background. So share, and I'm sure that some will try to find a solution, and in the end, your life will be better thanks to the fact that you share the problem.
100%. Sharing is caring. Share your ideas, share your problems, share everything. The faster you get response from outside, from the community, the better you are. Just don't stay in your bubble, which we all tend to do sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So final word from you, maybe a recommendation. So we're still like academy, right? So there are people who are eager to study and they like to like read, consume, listen, whatever. But one piece of culture that you recommend everyone: read, watch, listen, whatever you think that can kind of enrich someone's perspective on things in general.
Okay, I have like old. I know it's not like a modern answer. I grew up reading books of Kevin Mitnick. Okay. Kevin Mitnick is one of the most famous hackers around the world. It's interesting to see his story. On one side, it's sometimes it's reading a story, so it's not technical. There's no technical background. But on the other side, tells you what can be done if people have access to, and how easy it is sometimes to have access to your personal data, and how often the weak point is not the system, but is the person through social engineering. So reading those books shows you like, you don't need to be like a matrix nerd or whatever. It's just social skills, and this tells you how to protect yourself from this type of attacks.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Bella ciao.